I'm Grace Torie, and you're listening to That Girl the Podcast. Grab a beverage of choice and settle in, because the new episode is starting now. What's up, you guys? It's your girl, Grace Torie, and I'm back with a whole new podcast episode. If you're moving into college, or you're going back to college, whether you're a freshman, a senior, graduate school, I have an episode for you. Even if you're just like moving into like a new place, I feel like these tips and tricks can be beneficial. Some of them are definitely more targeted towards college, but you can definitely apply them to just like moving to a new place in general. So if any of that applies to you, this episode's for you. If you just want to listen because you think that it's interesting, definitely listen. It's a little bit of reminiscent for me. A little bit about me, if you did not know, is that I have 3 degrees. I went to college for my undergrad, and in those 4 years I got 2 degrees, and then I spent another year and got a graduate degree. So I spent a total of 5 years on a college campus. I lived everywhere from a dorm to an apartment to just a house off campus. So I've done it all except for living in a Greek life sorority house. I was in a sorority though, so I kind of have a few tricks that I've picked up along the way. So this is just my honest thoughts. I moved like away from home. I was only an hour from home, so not super far, but I did move away, and I feel like I've learned a lot. So I want to share my tips and tricks with you, things that I would do, things that I would not do, and hopefully you have a great year back at college or a great new experience wherever you are moving. So I don't really know if I have any life updates. I think that the main life update I have is Taylor released more dates, like a second leg of the US tour. I am very poor, but hopefully by the time that concert comes around, I'm a millionaire, and that way I can get like front row because, you know, millionaire life. I did sign up for pre-sale because she's delirious, even though pre-sale, oh shoot, I think I actually get paid before pre-sale. So this could be potentially very dangerous, but you bet your bottom dollar I'm gonna do everything I can to be at that concert. So if you're going to Indy, you're hoping for Indy tickets, girl, same. Hopefully we all get them. I'm manifesting the best for all of us. But I think that's it for life updates. Nothing really too crazy going on over here. So let's go ahead and jump on in. I'm so excited for you. College was my favorite thing ever. Moving away from home really helped me to develop as a person, and I am so grateful that I made the decisions I did, and I'm happy to share that with you, as well as tell you some things that I wish I would have done differently. We are starting off with a hot take. You are only going to be in college once. You're only going to be able to really have that level of autonomy where you're not really going to like working or having as many responsibilities once, and that's when you're in college. Like once you graduate, you're going to have a job. Hopefully you're gonna have more bills. You're gonna have to structure your time all on your own. You're not gonna have like a class schedule to stick to. So this is really the only time that you have all of the autonomy of an adult, but not the responsibilities of an adult for the most part. I know everyone's situation is different, but it definitely feels like I had way less to worry about then. So with that being said, a lot of people say to not really go all out on decorating your room because it's a waste of money, but I say to go all out. You're only going to really be able to do that once. For me, I moved in with my boyfriend as soon as I graduated, so I don't have like a house to decorate for myself anymore. Our room can't be all pink. I do have my office, so I put all of my stuff from my college years in here, but I really am so happy that I went all out on my room. The first 2 years I didn't, and I just bought what I needed, and it didn't feel like me. Like it didn't feel like my space. It didn't feel like a comfortable place to be. It just felt like a typical dorm room. So I really encourage you to make it your own. That being said, be sustainable though. Everything that I bought my junior and senior and then graduate year when I made my room my own, I still use. It's not things that I turned around and like after a year hated. Of course that's totally okay, but don't go into it with the mindset of I'm gonna get rid of this shortly after I have it. Unless you know for a fact that you can get rid of it and you can give it to someone else. Don't get stuff you're just gonna like throw out. Definitely sell it on Facebook Marketplace. Do the right thing with it. Take it to Goodwill. But yeah, I highly recommend going all out on your room from someone who's done both. It was just so much more I don't even know, like I just felt at home when I made my room a home instead of like just a place I studied and slept in. Like, you know that saying, make your house a home and make it your own? Do that with your room, because you can move your stuff from room to room if you end up moving every single year, and you can just redecorate it the same way, and it makes such a huge difference mentally. So go all out. Number 2 is, if you have roommates, there's really a lot. I could do a whole episode on roommates alone. If you want that, definitely let me know, because I feel like roommates applies to everyone, especially in this economy. You can't live without a roommate. I'm thankfully dating mine, but you could not afford life without a roommate in the current economy that we're in. Shout out to the cost of living, honestly. But when it comes to roommates, what things I will say is, when it comes to the things you're buying for the common area, furniture, kitchen appliances, literally everything, have a plan for who's gonna buy what. Are you all gonna buy it evenly and all pay half or a third or a fourth, depending on however many roommates you have? Is someone gonna bring something that's their own? And keep in mind that if they do, they can remove it at any time, and you think that they won't, but they will. We've had that happen before. One of our roommates got pissed off and she took the couch in the living room. We didn't really care, but like, it could be a little you could be a little frazzled if you walk in from a night at the bars and your couch is missing, because that's what happened. Also, you need to talk about it now. What are you gonna do when you move out? Are you all gonna pay? What we did is, for the things that we all owned like a third of, we paid that person the rest that we didn't pay. So like, say you paid 1/3, we paid 2/3 of that full cost to that person, or the people that we bought it from, to pay the full amount so that we could take it if we wanted it. So it's a little bit easier if you own it fully, because you can just like either decide to take it or say, hey, does anyone want this? You can buy it off of me. But if you do the 3-way or 2-way, or however many of you there are, there's kind of more of a understanding, because you all own it. So you have to make those decisions together. So know what you're gonna do when you move out, even though you're moving in, because it's important to make those decisions. Make basic rules. Basic rules are like, if you have a coffee machine and you really don't want anyone to use your coffee machine, tell them that. You probably shouldn't bring it if you're not gonna let anyone use it, because then you're just gonna cause a lot of problems. I wouldn't bring anything that I don't want anyone to use personally, because even though you like to give people the benefit of the doubt and think they're the most amazing people ever, there are roommates out there who are just gonna use it when you're not around, and that would suck. So make sure that you do have basic rules though. Like, if you're gonna use the microwave, who's gonna clean it? Everyone needs to make sure they clean it last. How long are you guys gonna go with dishes? Make sure everyone does their dishes within this amount of time. Things like that. Like, have boundaries and rules for the things that you all bring into the house. When it comes to like parties and stuff, make sure that you have rules laid out. Hey, if you're gonna bring people over to the house, make sure I know in this amount of time. Obviously there's exceptions to that rule, but just make sure you have boundaries and house rules going into it, because if you don't have them, you can't get mad at people for crossing your boundaries and not following these rules, because even if you assume that everyone knows these rules or whatever, or like they're common sense, or that they're basic boundaries, not everyone knows them. And unless you state them and have this all kind of planned out, then you can get mad at people for not following your rules that you made up in your head. Lastly, talk about decor. Make sure that you guys are kind of on the same page. Are you all buying the same color things so that your house matches? Are you all just kind of doing your own thing? Are you all going to go shopping together and do it? Are you all going to do it on your own? There's a lot of different ways to go about decor, and no way is right or wrong, but make sure that you all are doing it. You all are on the same page. Like, it's just all about being on the same page. So yeah, that's like my spiel on roommates. If you want a whole video dedicated to roommates, you want to ask questions, you need advice, definitely let me know. I have some stories, but yeah, roommates is like, whew, that's a whole topic, and they're really hard to navigate, and it can be really messy. So I've learned a lot from my time. I lived with like 3 different sets of roommates, possibly, no, I did live with 4 different sets of roommates, just from people rotating out of the house, from me moving, things like that. So I have picked up a tip or two when it comes to that. Next is don't buy things that prolong habits you want to break. So if you're moving to a new place, this is such a good time to start new habits. And I'm not saying to change your entire life in one day, because that's going to be difficult. But a thing that I always do is when I'm buying my own groceries. So when I was home for the summer, or home for a certain amount of time, my mom bought groceries, and I'm very grateful for that. It's part of the reason why I went home. Love you, Mom. But I couldn't be like, hey Mom, I want to eat a certain way, so you need to make sure that you don't bring any of this stuff into the house because I'm going to eat it and I don't have self-discipline. Like, no, that's kind of extremely disrespectful. But when I moved into my house and I picked what groceries I was buying, I ate a lot healthier because I refused to buy things that were really bad for me, didn't bring any nutritional value into my life. If I was following a certain diet or cutting certain things out, I made sure to follow that. So that's just one example of habits. Maybe if you want to start dressing a certain way, don't bring clothes that don't follow that. If you have the luxury of having a large closet where you can kind of pick and choose what you're going to bring, don't buy new clothes if you don't want them to look a certain way. Like, buy clothes that follow the new look you have in mind. If you don't want to watch TV all the time, don't bring a TV. I didn't have a TV in my room until I started dating Josh because he had one in his room. And I kind of hate it. We have one in our room now and I don't like it. I honestly kind of want to just get rid of it. But he gets so upset with me because he loves watching TV to fall asleep. I don't. I don't like any noise. I don't like having any technology in my room. Having my phone is like a stretch. I just want to read, do my hot girl shit, and go to bed. So that's one thing that, like, I highly recommend, is not having a TV in your room if you are the only one who gets to decide. If you have to compromise, maybe that's a whole nother conversation. But things like that, if you want to set new habits for yourself, this is an amazing time to do that. I personally was very go hard or go home, so I would literally eat a certain way, not put certain things in my room, go to the gym more, and make that like a priority. But this new phase of life is going to be such a like culture shock for you. I don't know if culture shock is the right word. Routine shock, maybe? I don't know. It's a very different experience, so while you want to keep some things familiar to make the transition easier, it's a good time to switch as much as you can because you're already going to be doing so many new things. You could just be setting all these new habits while you're getting used to it, and it'll just become your new reality. So definitely be careful about what you're putting into the house. Be very mindful about what you're bringing into it, because what you're bringing in there, you are giving yourself access to, and self-discipline becomes a lot harder when you have easy access to bad habits. So just don't bring things in if they aren't what you want your ideal future self to be doing. Don't go home. Literally do not go home. I really didn't do this until I broke up with like my little high school boyfriend my junior year. But my junior year, I literally didn't go home for an entire semester, even though I lived an hour away. And it was a game changer. It changed my life, because giving yourself the opportunity to go home and it's almost like a crutch, like you're holding on to the past. And it's not that I don't love my family. I'm so close to my mom. I love my family. I cherish the time that I have with them. But they're only a phone call away, and you don't need to go home. You're honestly like taking away from your opportunity that you've been given, where you are given the luxury of becoming whoever you want and making decisions for yourself and growing as a person. And you only grow when you're uncomfortable. So the comfortable thing to do is to go home, but don't. Literally pack for an entire semester. Pack as if you're never going home again. Obviously, well, maybe that's a little extreme. Don't like take your entire room, but like pack as if you're not going to go home for a long time. Pack sustainably. Don't be like bringing everything, but also pack like you're not going home next weekend, because don't. Like, the best thing you can do for yourself is spend some time away from home. Don't go home. I am telling you, if there's probably one thing you get out of this podcast episode, is don't go home. Do not. Love you, XOXO, don't go home. For a majority of you, Anything that you have at home is available where your college, university, new place of residence is. So only pack what you genuinely need. Like I said before, pack sustainably. Yes, you're packing to be there for a long period of time, but don't pack things you maybe potentially are going to need some point in the future. Like, most of you are in a place where you can purchase things that you need if you really need them that bad. So don't go into it saying, oh, I'll just buy that when I get there. Like, if you have it, bring it if you know you're going to use it. But if you don't know if you're going to use it, don't bring it. Like, you could always have your family send it to you. You can always purchase it there. Just don't bring unnecessary things under the explanation of, maybe I'll need it one day, because you really don't have that much space. And you're trying to create space for growth and new beginnings, and you can't do that if you're bringing all of your old stuff with you. This is a great opportunity to start fresh, and I really encourage you to, even if you don't want to. It's not that you're starting fresh in the sense of you're forgetting everything that you have now. You're just starting fresh in the sense that it's a new era of your life and you want to give yourself the opportunity to grow. So don't bring all your old stuff. You don't need it. And if you're living in a dorm or even in an apartment, you don't have that much space. You think you have way more than you do. Even when I lived in a house, I didn't have that much space because I had 3 to 4 roommates, or nope, 2 to 3 roommates at any given time. I think I actually had like 5 at one point. And so really the only space you have is your room, and then everything else you share. So maybe don't bring everything. Like, seriously don't. You'll feel so much better, and it'll be way easier when it's time to move again. Walk your route before classes start. So if you're a route, I still don't know how to pronounce that. It's fine. Walk the way that you're gonna walk to get to all your classes. I promise you, you will be way less stressed if you know where you're going. So walk your Monday, Wednesday, Friday path, walk your Tuesday, Thursday path. Like, make sure you know exactly where you're going. It's kind of like really nice, I feel like, too, to do that. I just feel like when I did that, it was really exciting. It got me hyped up, and it just takes away some of that anxiety. So the best way you can prepare is to just walk from your dorm to the classroom door, and then if you want to walk in the classroom, see what it's like, whatever, up to you. From there, walk to the next class. Keep going where you're gonna go. If you have like clubs and things that you're doing as well, walk to where that's gonna be. Just make sure you know where everything is. I know there's apps and stuff. Like, we had an app that showed us where everything was. By the way, I went to the University of Kentucky, so if you're a UK girly, hey girl, message me with any questions. I got you. But we did have an app. We had maps. We had all of the resources we needed to get where we need to go. Also, don't be afraid to ask questions for like your RAs, and people are very happy to help that work there. But yeah, make sure you kind of know where you're going. It's fun, it's exciting, it gets you hyped up, and it relieves that anxiety. Next is create a daily routine. If you are more of a spontaneous girly and you don't really struggle with change, then you may not need to make a daily routine. But if you're like me and you have a hard time with change and you like having a familiar routine and a sense of normalcy, and rolling with the punches is kind of a lot, then create a daily routine. Write out what you're gonna do every day. This is also helpful with self-discipline. Like, if you wanna go to the gym, then make a routine and say, okay, on these days I'm gonna go to the gym before class, on these days I'm gonna go after class, on these days I'm gonna go for a walk, on these days I'm gonna actually go and lift weights, on these days I'm gonna do this. On these days I'm gonna eat out, on these days I'm gonna cook, this is a grocery day, this is a laundry day. Just little things that you feel like maybe aren't that big of a deal, but they are. Like grocery shopping, you're probably gonna do once a week, so pick a day. Laundry, you're probably gonna do once a week, depending on how much clothing you have, pick a day. That was one reason I did go home, is laundry costs money if you live in the dorms. If you didn't know that, most dorms charge you to use the washer and dryer. I guess that is dependent on the university, but ours did. So keep that in mind. You know, if you have a job, make sure your time management is on par, because you're gonna have to do all of that. I had internships, but they were for the most part remote, I think, except for one. So I really had some flexibility there. But yeah, make sure that you are kind of setting your expectations for what your routine is going to be, not only from the standpoint of finding some normalcy, but also making sure that your goals for yourself in terms of what you want to do, what you want to accomplish, going to the gym, all those different things, eating at home, all of that's realistic. Next is get involved. The best thing you can do other than not go home is get involved. You got to fill your time doing something as much as you can. I mean, I did Greek life. I was vice president of a equine team. I was very involved in my major. I was an intern with them. I TA'd. I did all the things. I promise you, there is so much benefit to doing that, and you're gonna find friends, and then you're not gonna want to go home because your friends are amazing in college. But I highly recommend it. Doing Greek life, even though it's not for everybody, it was great because you rushed before school started. So you had a whole week just meeting new people, women your age, before school started. There's also sports, there's clubs with things that you're just like interested in. Like we had a squirrel watching club, we had, pretty sure there was like a Star Wars club or something like that, like Lord of the Rings. There's so much that you can do. And if there's not a club you're interested in, you can start one. I think you have to have like 2 people to start a club. So go to your major, go to your university student council or student activities board and pitch your club to them. I'm telling you, just meet new people. Get as many clubs involved. What am I trying to say? Get involved with as many clubs as you can. Also, free food. Most clubs have free food. So if you go to a club on Tuesdays, that's dinner. If you go to a club on Fridays, that's dinner. If you do this, that's lunch. Like, all of these clubs typically provide pizza or Chick-fil-A or something, so that's dinner one night a week. We literally just club hopped. I would go to my best friend, I would go to all her clubs with her and get the free food, and I was friends with all of the people who are in it, so it wasn't like a huge deal, and I genuinely enjoyed hearing what their clubs was about. It was just like coal mining, and I'm not a coal miner, as you can see, so it was very interesting, but it wasn't anything I could use in my professional or personal life, so I would go with her and get free food from her places. But that was like senior year when I already knew everybody, so maybe don't do that your freshman year, but also do it. Branch out in any way you possibly can. That's the best thing you can do. If you have a boyfriend before you are moving, and you know in the back of your mind he's not the one, you know the minute you meet someone whether you're gonna marry them or not. Okay, maybe that's a little extreme, but you know when you're dating someone in the back of your head if you're marrying them or not. And if it's a question mark on if you're gonna marry them, it's probably a no, because I'm telling you, when you meet that person, you know, if they're not the one, dump them, because it's not fair to them or yourself, first off, but you're also hindering your experience, and that's not fair. Like, I'm telling you, I had a boyfriend most of my college up until my junior year, and I knew he wasn't the one deep down, but I still dated him. I don't know why. I think it's because it was familiar, and I regret it so much. It's not that he wasn't a good person. It's not that it wasn't a good relationship, whatever. It taught me a lot, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of tea there. But I could have spent that time getting to know myself, and that's part of the reason I was going home every weekend, and I just wish I would have given that time to myself to find who I am and who I want to be. And I cannot encourage you more that if he's not the one, it's going to be hard, it's going to suck, it's going to hurt, it's going to be unfamiliar, but break up. It's the best thing you can do for both of you. Next is don't be afraid to try new things. That's what basically this whole experience is about. If you're scared to go to the gym on campus, just do it. It's free and it's great. I didn't go until my senior year, and once I went, I loved it. I went all the time. I wish I would have done it sooner. Go to new places with your friends, try new things, try new hobbies, study in new places. We studied at all these restaurants all over Lexington. We also studied at the library a lot. Study at the library, that's fun. One thing I would do is, it costs like $7 to go to our cafeteria, or like our on-campus like buffet place that they had. It was called the 90. I think it's called something else now. And then Champion was the other one. But I would go in the morning, eat breakfast, and then I'd study all day. I just wouldn't leave. And then they would switch the food over to lunch. I'd grab lunch. They would switch the food over to dinner. I'd eat dinner. Sometimes I didn't stay 12 hours a day. I'd only stayed like 4, but Sometimes I did, and I got 2 to 3 meals out of it for $7, and I was studying, I was in a new place. You're around people, you're putting yourself out there. Like, life hack, just get out of your space. Don't spend all of your time at home. That is the worst thing you can do. You're given this opportunity, take full advantage of it. Study at your college, study at the library, study at anywhere on campus, study outside, grab a blanket, study outside if you have like a park kind of area to study. We had a Starbucks outdoor eating area, and that was probably my favorite place to study because it was connected to the library, so you would get food at Starbucks and then walk out to like the outdoor area that was connected to the library, and I just sit there for hours, literally hours. It was in the center of campus, it was so beautiful, and I honestly miss it quite the bit. Be selfish. That is my last tip, and I'm not saying like in a mean way. Don't be like mean. Don't like cut people down and only think of yourself. I like to think of selfish and selfless as like a spectrum. It's not that you're fully selfish or you're fully selfless. You need to be somewhere in the middle. So be more selfish with your time, with your boundaries, with your decision making. Don't be selfish as a person. Don't be mean. But you are discovering who you're meant to be. You're discovering yourself. You are making choices for your future. So don't people please and make decisions based off of everybody else. Make decisions that are going to be beneficial for your future, because you have to. Like, you just have to. That's how you're going to discover what you're meant to be doing. You don't want to go down a path where you got all these degrees and did all these things because everybody else told you that's what's best for you. They don't know you. They don't know what's best for you. They have an idea, but you only know what's best for you. You only know whether going out or going to the library is what's best for you. You only know whether hanging out with someone or spending some time alone is what's best for you. So be selfish. Don't be mean. Explain to people why you're making the decisions you're making. Set boundaries, but you can also be a little bit more selfish, because this is the only time in your life when you have the little amount of responsibilities that you do and you have the autonomy that you do, and you're going to be making as big of the decisions that you're making. Think about it. In this time, you're going to be deciding what career you're probably going to do for the rest of your life, at least what industry you're probably going to work in. You're deciding who you want to spend the rest of your life with. Most people are settling down in relationships. Now, that is getting later and later, so don't feel pressured to get married tomorrow, because people are getting married later and later, but you are meeting people in your 20s that you're potentially going to marry. You're deciding where you want to live, where you want to settle down, what kind of person you want to be. Like, you are deciding so many big life-changing decisions right now. It's okay to be selfish. It's okay to say I need a mental day. It's okay to say you do or don't want to hang out with someone tonight. Just be open and communicate with them. So, that is my quick go-to guide for moving in for college, moving into a new city. What you need to know as you embark on this new chapter, whether you've gone to the same college for 2 years and you're just moving back in, or you are moving to a completely new place, have never met anyone, have no idea what you're doing. Those are the tips I have for you. Let me know if you want me to do a part 2, if you want me to dive in on anything else like roommates, clubs, Greek life, any of that. I'm happy to dive into it more for you. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to follow on whatever platform you are listening on. If you are on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or YouTube, don't forget to leave a like or a rating and review. It takes about 0.2 seconds. It's free, and it really does blow up my channel. Share this with one of your friends who you think it would be helpful for and benefit them. It would mean the world to me. But I love you guys so, so much. I upload every single Sunday and Wednesday. If you're watching this on a Sunday, I hope you have a great night. If you're watching this on any other day, I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, or night. I love you guys so, so much, and I will see you in my next podcast episode. Bye, guys.